Sadnam, yogis and yoginis, welcome back to one more part of this course on the Mul Mantra. I appreciate you being here. I know you could have clicked on any video in YouTube, and there's so many of them, but you clicked on this one, and I appreciate your commitment to listen and meditate and reflect upon the meaning of the words of the Mul Mantra. And we are on the 6th word, Nirbhao. And we're gonna start as usual by chanting a little bit, and then we will explore how it feels to chant these words, and then we will talk about the meaning of the word, and I don't know, let's do a little brainstorming on it. But let's start by tuning into the Mul Mantra by chanting it at least 3 times. And then we will go into the Nirbhao by itself. I will put it on the screen so you can follow along, and I invite you to chant as well. Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Purak Nirbhao Nirvair Akal Murat Ajuni Sai Bhangur Parasad Japa Ad Sach Jugad Sach Hey Bhi Sach Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Purak Nirbhao Nirvair Akal Murat Ajuni Sai Bhangur Parsad Jap Ad Sach Jugad Sach Hey Bhi Sach Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Purak Nirbhao Nirvair Akal Murat Ajuni Sai Bhangur Parsad Jap Ad Sach Jugad Sach Hey Bhi Sach Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach. Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Purak Nirbhao. Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Purak Nirbhao. Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Purak Nirbhao. 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 I don't know how it was for you, but to me there is definitely a feeling of change from before Karta Purak and then afterwards. It's like before Karta Purak things are like very precise. Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Purak, and very short and clear and ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. And then it starts Nirbhao Nirvair Akal Murat. And somehow it's like now we are more abstract than before. Like before the Karta Purak, everything was much more small and clear and precise. And now afterwards is something different, some different air. We will talk about this a little bit more. And Nirbhao specifically, it clearly has two parts. Nirbhao, which we will come back to these two parts again when we go to Nirver. Nirver. But let's stay in Nirbhao. So Nir, I is kind of long. Nir, he wants to be long. He wants to be held somehow. Nir, and the sound I, the vowel I, from the what I did in the mantra course that I have in YouTube in this channel. When I explore the vowels, I mentioned how the I is the smallest vowel which goes forward. The smallest, and it goes forward. So A is very open, and then I, he wants to go forward. U wants to go up, but the I wants to go forward, and it's very, very small. So Nir. And the R is the tip of the tongue touching the upper palate before the teeth, in the hard surface of the upper palate. So Nir, Nir, Nir. And Bhao, Bhao. The vowels of Ao, Ao are very expansive and opening. That's the vowels, yeah? I becoming very short, and Ao expansive and opening. So we already find a kind of polarity here, similar to the polarity we have been exploring all throughout the mantra, the Mul Mantra, as we were chanting Sat, Naam. There was this polarity. There was a polarity between Ik and Ong. In Ong, the polarity appeared, and it has been appearing all throughout. We had it in Karta Purak, like the two aspects of Purusha and Prakriti getting together. And we have here Nirbhao, two aspects again. Nir. All right, let's explore the N sound, because when we did Sat Nam, we didn't focus so much on the N. But let's get this lovely little book. What's in the word? Margaret Magnus. Let's see what she has to say about the letter N. Narrowing, nearer, nigh. No, not never. No, now. New. And I mentioned how this is in the mantra course. I was talking about how this is like asking questions of when is it going to happen? Now, when is it going to happen? Well, it's near. When is it going to happen? Next? No, it's not going to happen, right? So it's the end sound is talking about when, even the word when ending in the N, yeah? All the questions start with wa. But what, which, those finish in different sounds, but when is the N. So suddenly it knows. When? It knows when, yeah? So there's something interesting here. It says that in initial position, this is the one we're interested about, because we are doing Nirbhao, Nirver. In initial position, N is small and nubby, like noses, knees, nipples, notches. Yeah, nose is something small in your face, yeah? A knob could be as well. So it's something small and nubby. In the final position, it's often mean or painful or injurious. Yeah? And there's something about narrowness as well. N as something narrow, yeah? Scrunch or pinch or notch or note or niche or nook. So that's interesting about. I think I put this here from Margaret Magnus's PhD thesis. It's not from this book. And I talked about how interesting the comparison between Naam and Man. Yeah, the same sounds but changing the order. Well, Nirbhao. Nir means without. Yes, in Gurumukhi. Bhao would be fear. So let's take the semantics out of the way. Without fear, that's what it means. But let's stay with the vibrational meaning, yeah? So this N and the I, which is a small vowel, the N being a small sound and the E being a small vowel is something small. Yeah, so we are near, we are coming close to something and we are becoming small. Yeah. Bhao. Bhao is completely the opposite. The sound B, the letter B, in order to produce it, we have to create pressure behind the lips, accumulate the pressure in the mouth, and then let it go, release it, yeah, in an explosion of sound. Bah, 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 yeah? And not only it's a B with an H, yeah? Some consonants in Gurmukhi and Sanskrit are aspirated. This H is going to make the sound have much more air, and which is, air is something from the fourth chakra, so it's the heart, but it's also going to be more explosive. So, bow, bow. And these B sounds are like explosive and expanding. You can find them in all sorts of words, in English, for example, but in any language, that have this explosiveness to them. And even in comic books, you will find explosions, and they will write bang or bam, yeah, or boom, yeah. But many other words which imply that you have to break through some kind of barrier, yeah, break the barrier, like a baby being born, right, and its little body passing through, yeah. So this B sound is going to reflect that there is an impediment and you're just coming out of it. You are crossing through. And if you remember when we were doing Kartapurek, I mentioned how this is the fourth sound. In Satnam, we had the fourth sound and we were approaching some sort of cross. And in Kartapurak, we had to cross the cross. Yeah, we had to cross this crossing point. Yeah, and so as we are coming into the sixth level, the sixth, it's a level, sixth phase or sixth level of the Mul Mantra. Now we just crossed. Now having to cross this point, it is like a barrier. There is a barrier. There is some sort of challenge that we have to meet, and we are coming through this little small space, Nirbhao, yeah? And you are out, you are on the other side. So Nirbhao is already telling us we are through. We have crossed the barrier, we crossed the crossing, we crossed the bridge, we crossed the inflection point, and now we are in the other side. This is just what the sound is telling us, just reflecting on the vibration of this sound. And the B with the H, bow, means there is going to be a lot of air. After having gone through this little gap, little hole, the crossing, yeah, and then you go through, and now there is air again. And if you remember, Ek Onkar, we were going up the elements from earth. Ong is water, yeah, Ek was earth, Ong was water, Kar was fire, and then Satna was the air related to the heart. And we went into the throat of Kartapurek. And then as we are going into Nirbhao, we are coming back into the air element. Now we keep going up. It would be associated to the sixth chakra, but the 6 and the 4 would be connected. Remember again, I remind many things in this video, that the 4 and the 6 add up to 10, and so they are connected, the 3 and the 7, the 2 and the 8, and the 1 and the 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 5, this is the bridge. So 4 and 6 are connected, and so as we come into Nirbhao, we are faced with the connection between the heart and this third eye, whatever it means. So we are back into the air element. And before Nirbhao, we had Kartapurek, yeah? And it's interesting how I mentioned that there was some kind of difference between the words that came before Kartapurek and the words after Kartapurek. And this was something that I realized during this week as I was meditating and chanting it a lot and reflecting upon it. And I noticed how interesting that Ek, Onkar, Sat, Nam, they are very precise, very clear. They are defining what God is in a way. And what these virtues are that we can embody, yeah? And God is one, and there is one creation, and there is one creator, and truth is the identity of it, and truth is our identity, yeah? We can identify with truth. So it's about truth, it's about Ong, it's about Ek, it's about Kar, it's about all these things. This is what God is about in some way, yeah? And then we cross Kartapurek. And on the other side is telling us what it's not about. Nir means no, without, yeah? Nirbhao, nirver, akal, is also negation. So the ni prefix, if you take this ni, it's like in English in, so intolerable, something that is not tolerable, yeah? Or informal, that's something that is not formal. It's negating what is coming afterwards. So like in Gurumukhi would be Nirbhao is negating the Bhao. Yeah, it's telling us it's without Bhao. So Nirbhao, Nirver has this ni sound, but then Akal Muret, has the A sound. And the A is also negating. It's like in English, not only do we use in to negate, but we also use A, like something abnormal or asexual, right? A is negating the word that comes afterwards. So, akal murat, yeah, nirbo, nirver, akal murat, ajuni. So the next words that are going to come after Kartapurek, the 6, the 7, the 8, and the 9, and I mentioned how they are connected, yeah? Ekonkar Satnam, and then Nirbhao, Nirvera, Kalmura, Dajuni. So these are affirming and these are negating in some way. Well, that's interesting, if anything else. To me, the interesting thing about this is that it looks so similar in the concept as what we find in the Yoga Sutras when Patanjali is telling us the 10, like we could call it like the ethical code, but it's not really like that. But the 10 things of like the do's, the easy way to translate it, sometimes they say like the do's and don'ts, yeah, of a yogic life, a dharmic life. They call it yamas and niyamas. And again, we can see yamas and the niyamas. So there is a sort of reflection between the yamas, which with the Ekonkar Satnam. By the way, the yamas also have Sat, the Satya, yeah? And the niyamas with what comes afterwards. So there is this yamas and niyamas, and here we have the words before Kartapurek and after Kartapurek, like negating something. Let me do a little drawing, yeah. It would not be a video without a drawing. Art helps to express, it's not that I'm very artistic, but it helps to express something that is indescribable. And drawings and diagrams help the mind understand and open itself to concepts which are sometimes difficult to grasp. And it serves to reflect. So we are in the 6th. Nirbhao. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was the inflection point, and 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we see how they will be connected, yeah? 2 and the 8, the 3 and the 7, the 4 and the 6. So the air element, we are coming back to the air element as we go into Nirbhao. So Kartapurek, we found that Kartapurek was the sacrifice. Yeah, Karta being something sacred, and Fais is the facere, the action, so sacred action. The sacrifice was the sacred action that the Karta Purak is asking us to do. So what is being sacrificed? Yeah, and look, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is affirming. God is one, and it's true, and all that. And 6, 7, and 9, and this is negating. So that polarity that we were finding in many of the words, like Sat, Naam, or Karta Purak, and now Nirbhao, is not only within every word, but we can find it within the whole Mul Mantra by itself. We can find this polarity here. So we've been defining what God is, and in some way, we come upon this sacrifice, and then we are asked to sacrifice. And I mentioned the last video, it's kind of like a sacrifice of the roots of the ego. But now it's being much more clear, yeah? It comes now and says, well, what are we going to sacrifice? Well, Nirbhao. It says, is without fear. So here is about fear. And we will see the other ones, what they are about. But something is not there. Something is there, something is not. Something is there, something is not there. And fear is not there. Yeah, it's telling us this. So very, very interesting. I also mentioned in the last video about this, the presence of being, yeah, of like a saint, and how that is very much the attitude that we find in the first gurus as we come from Guru Nanak and Guru Angad, Guru Amardas, and Guru Ramdas. All these are very much like the saints. So let's write it like this. They were peaceful. They were just about spreading the word, kind of poets, yeah? Just making beautiful poetry, putting it into music. And as we come now to this area, we found that now we are going to be in a different feeling from the aspect of the saints. And we're going to find that this is not about the presence of the saint, but we're going to have to call upon the warrior identity, yeah? So these are the warriors. Could have written it better, but I had no space to write saints here, so let's put it like this. So we are coming upon the warrior. Let's see how it comes up. We'll see a little bit better this aspect. So let's remember, in Satnam, we came into a crossing. We had to decide, we had to choose which way are we going to go. We had to commit ourselves and then cross. Excuse me. So we had to cross the crossing, and now we're on the other side. We either went this way, or we went that way, or we went this way. But wherever we are, let's say we are here now, we have crossed. Now, after the commitment, after the choice of where am I going to go, comes a responsibility. Responsibility. I'm not sure now. Okay, never mind. So having crossed the crossing, you made a choice. Now, this is going to have consequences. Whatever you decided to do is going to have a number of consequences, and you're going to have to face that. You're going to have responsibility for that action. It's not about guilt, it's about responsibility. So the responsibility of the decision will make me face a certain number of challenges, or maybe something that is going to happen to me, something is going to come to me because of what I did, and I'm going to have to face that. But remember, when we are about to cross, if we knew what was on the other side, we would have known what to choose. But beforehand, when we are before the crossing, we don't really know where to go because we don't know what is on the other side. Now, we cross the bridge, we cross the 5, we are on the other side. Now we're going to find out what it was. And before it came is something unknown. And unknown is the things that we are afraid of, right? The biggest fear in life is the fear of the unknown. It's not so much the fear of death. We are afraid of death because death is an unknown. We don't know what is in death and afterwards. If we knew for certain what is after death, and we had an experience of that, we would not be afraid of that, unless it was something really nasty and we didn't want it, right? But it is the fear of the unknown. I'm thinking back of the period when there were no radios, and the first radios, when they appeared, or the first televisions, it would have been something like out of the magic world, right? Or something very mystical, this little box, and makes sound like there is a person inside, and it looks like somebody is speaking through there. And people must have been really afraid that there was something evil about that. Same with the cars, same with any kind of technological advancement that we don't really understand at first. Is something unknown. Now, you are probably holding a tablet or maybe a phone or maybe you have a computer, some sort of screen that is telling you all this. You are seeing my face or you are hearing my voice. But do you really know how it works? Do you know how the silicon atoms can be arranged so that they can release electrons and create electric currents, and by changing some of the charges in some layers you can create transistors, and then through these transistors you can create logic gates, and with logic gates you can create some sort of thinking in a very, very basic level, that we can put together these logic gates and create computer chips, and with these chips create the hardware, then program it with some software, and actually what you have, the whole package. Do you understand everything, every level? Most likely you don't, and yet you are not afraid of it. So understanding something is not what releases us from fear. It is becoming familiar with it. The first time we face something and is unknown, we are afraid of it. And I was just, I don't know, as I was speaking, I was seeing a cat in my face coming into a room, a new room, and the room doesn't know, and it's very, very, like, paying a lot of attention, looking around. Like, first is seeing everything, and then as soon as he becomes familiar with the room, then jumps on top of the sofa or whatever, right? So it's like Nirbhao, right? So there's little. The first part is like, what is this place? There's some unknown. So Nirbhao is the facing of the unknown that is after the decision. This was before. It was the commitment. After the commitment comes the responsibility, because we are going to face the unknown. And facing the unknown, it is natural that fear comes. And so this Nirbhao is telling us, fearless, be fearless, have no fear. All right. So this is calling upon the warrior aspect of us. Say, look, whatever is happening, just be a warrior and fearless and just face it, face the fear. Now, a warrior is somebody who is fighting. But there is two ways to fight. You can be fighting against something or fighting for something. Now in yoga we say how anytime you are fighting against something, you already lost. You are losing your energy, your time. You are probably creating more karma, and therefore it's going to have to repeat and you're going to come back to it. So it's really a self-defeating attitude to fight against things. Even if it's yourself, especially if it's yourself, let's say you want to fight against your mind. Many people when they go into meditation, they think they need to empty their mind of thoughts, and so they fight against the mind. That's already a lost battle. It's not about fighting against anything. It's about fighting for. And this difference is critical when we come upon Nirbhao. Are you going to be fighting against the unknown or fighting for something? Fighting against or fighting for. And if you're going to fight for, what are you going to fight for? Yeah, what is it for? I'm thinking about the importance of this attitude of the warrior, of the fighter. And this is something it touches me, yeah? Let's say a bully, yeah? We see bullies in many places, but especially in a school, yeah? But we see it today a lot in social media. When somebody is bullying somebody else, let's say you are being bullied, and you want to take the approach of the saint, and so you are just very peaceful, very quiet, and very smiley, and forgiving whoever is bullying you. Now, that's a very passive, in a way, attitude. And just through your presence, if you are saintly enough, just through your presence, it may have an impact on the other, and they may stop it. It's true. It may have such an effect. If your presence works, it may have that effect, and the other one may stop doing whatever they are doing. But it's likely that it doesn't have that powerful effect. Now, if you keep being passive in that way, we all know, yeah, the psychology of bullying, how if you keep being very passive, you let somebody abuse you in some way, and especially if you show fear, that's going to perpetuate the situation. It's going to increase it, and the bully is going to take enjoyment in doing that, and they are going to continue doing that. Let's say you are not the person being bullied, you're not the victim, but there's somebody else, and somebody is bullying, let's say in a school, right? And one bully is bullying another kid. If you just are like a saint, and you're trying to be very peaceful, and you are just being very kind and respectful, and try to talk, and this may have no effect whatsoever. And maybe the bully will not go against you. Maybe will, but maybe will not. But you will not stop anything. You will not do anything. And the victim keeps on being the victim. It's actually kind of cruel, yeah, to be there forgiving the aggressor. Well, he doesn't know any better. And they are creating karma. And you can understand where they are. And you can think, who knows, maybe in their family, they are being bullied by their parents or whatever, or their brothers, or some situation, and maybe they suffered in life. You can start to be so understanding about the bully and so compassionate about the bully. That's kind of cruel to the person who is in the receiving end. So there is something very interesting that Christ said. Jesus said, well, if they hit you on one face, in one cheek, just give the other. But that can be very easily misunderstood in the meaning that, well, they are hitting you, then put the other side of the face so they keep on hitting you, yeah? But actually, I believe, yeah, it resonates with me, and I've heard this from my teacher, Shiv Charan Singh, and from other teachers as well, even within the Christian community, that what Jesus meant was that we can have two faces, and one can be the face of the saint, and we first go with the face of the saint. And if anybody approaches us, no matter what's their behavior, what's the situation, you first approach it from this situation. If this situation does not work, if your presence does not work and nothing changes, then you give the other side of the face. Now, we have two faces. Like these Asian statues, you've seen these gods who have two faces, and one is like a very calm and beautiful, and the other one is kind of like a monster almost. And it's saying, and it's a god, yeah, or even a goddess, yeah. And even goddesses, it just came to me, these Indian goddesses which have 4 arms or 8 arms. Generally, 4 of them have gifts, like a little bit of prasad, a little flower, a little thing with incense. And the other arms have weapons. They have swords, they have war drums, or they have some sort of weapon, yeah? So first we give the face of the saint, and if this doesn't work, then we have the face of the warrior. The saint and the warrior, again another polarity. And I believe this is what Jesus meant when he said about giving the other face. And I'm thinking about now something completely different. I wasn't even planning to talk about these things, but they are just coming to my mind. So I will just say them. I did some research in university when I was finishing my degree on game theory. And there is this game you can play with somebody, and it's called the prisoner's dilemma. And you can collaborate with them, and then we both benefit, or you can deceive them. And if you deceive them and they were trying to collaborate, you take advantage of them and you take much more benefit, and the other one doesn't take anything, is actually losing, yeah, let's say points, yeah? So they lose points and you are getting points. You're getting much more points. But if we both collaborate, we both win points, right? And if we are both trying to deceive each other, we both lose big, yeah? So we both want to win. The ideal situation, the best outcome, it's always best of all of us winning all the time. All of us winning all the time, which would mean all of us collaborating, cooperating all the time. If we are trying to deceive each other, then we are always losing. So there is different strategies that you can play. Let's say you are meeting somebody who is new, an unknown factor, right? And what am I going to do with this new person, with this new agent, right? So what's the attitude going to be? And if it's somebody from outside of our tribe, we're not going to know whether to collaborate or to try to deceive them. And if your first impulse is to try to deceive them, you may have a big reward at first, but they're very soon going to learn that you are the kind of person who is deceiving others. And they're going to stop trusting and stop collaborating. Then the moment they stop collaborating, we all lose. And it's not the best outcome. Now, if you try to be very, very always collaborating, right? And the unknown factor, the unknown person, the known agent is trying to deceive us, we are always going to be losing because we're always collaborating. So the answer to this, what is the best strategy? There is not one particular best strategy, but there is one that works really, really, really well. And it's called tit for tat. And it's saying, well, let's start by collaborating. But if in this exchange between you and I, the first exchange, you are trying to deceive me, I'm going to stop collaborating with you. And if you are trying to collaborate with me, if you collaborate with me, I am going to collaborate with you. So if today you collaborate with me, tomorrow I will collaborate with you. If today you deceive me, tomorrow I will deceive you. Right? So I don't know if deceive is the word, but not collaborate, yeah? So that's kind of like the warrior and the saint. First I'll go with the face of the saint. If this is not working with you, I'm going to go with the warrior because I'm not going to let you bully me. Right? This attitude, I'm not going to let you bully me. But that doesn't mean I'm going to be fighting against you. But I'm going to fight for something, for my own integrity, my own respect, my own well-being, for example, or the well-being of somebody else who cannot defend themselves, or fight for truth, or fight for justice. We're going to see what we fight for. Yeah? But in any case, we're not trying to fight against the other one. The other one, let them go. You know, they want to deceive us, not interested in having this connection. Sometimes we cannot avoid it. We have to relate to them, like in the school, which is some of the most troubling period for many kids, you know, like middle school. If, you know, with all these hormones, and you cannot avoid being with the other in the class. They are there. They are in your class. So we cannot like go away. But we can do tit for tat. Yeah. face of the same face of the warrior. You come to me deceiving me, I'm not gonna collaborate with you. That kind of attitude. So that's the warrior and the warrior. So what's the warrior gonna be fighting for? So, and also if the word is Nirbhao, not Bhao, what is it about? If it's not fear, what is it, right? If it's not fear, what is it? That's the question. And I think there is a beautiful answer within the word Nirbhao itself. If we look at the Gurumukhi, yeah? Now, we write it like this, Bhao. But the Gurumukhi, the word by original, it's written Bha. And let's see, I'm not very good with Gurumukhi. I believe it's like this. Bhao. Yeah? Bha, Bhao. Okay, so this is fear. Right? Now, there is a extremely similar word in Gurumukhi, or at least that's what the dictionary tells me. I checked, which is Bhao. And when you have a long A, it means that there is this explicit symbol that is asking the from Bha to be long. So it's Bhao. Now the other symbol is just the same, yeah? So the only difference is this thing that is telling us that the is longer. Yeah? And this is a kind of love, like affection. Sort of. I'm just thinking, I don't really know what kind of love exactly is, because there is many words in Gurumukhi to talk about love. There is prem, there is pyare, and from the dictionary I see Bhao. So I would like to know what's the difference between Bhao and the others, prem and pyare. It's getting very shiny. It was very early in the morning. Now the sun is rising and you can see it in the skin. Let me make it a bit less shiny. Okay. So, whoops, sorry, too much. The technology. Oh, too much. Okay, this way. So if you do know Gurumukhi or Punjabi, or you have studied this, I would love for you to share it in the comments. What would be the difference between the kind of love that we find in Prem and Pyare? I know between those ones, but what about Bhao? What's the particular difference between that one and the others? That would be interesting, because the dictionary is not very clear about it. So, if it's not fear, Nirbhao, then what is it? Could it be love? And to me, it makes a lot of sense, because when we are coming back to the heart, remember? We're going to go back to the heart, the air element. And, well, fear is going to close the heart. And love is going to open the heart. I don't think there is any doubt that love opens the heart, and when you're open-hearted, you are loving, you're feeling, you want to touch, you want to kiss, you want to embrace somebody, yeah? And fear, when you're afraid of something, is like, we are closing down. We even close our lungs, and we lose our breath, yeah? We're breathless by whatever is that we are afraid of. So fear closes the heart, and love opens the heart. So that means that as we are crossing through this barrier, and something comes in front of the heart, something unknown is coming to it, then we feel this fear, and so we close it. And we close it literally, or we can, closing the chest, yeah, like we become smaller like that. Or something that we used to do that we are used to doing as well, excuse me, it's to put a barrier. Barrier, yeah? This is like the kind of armor to protect the heart would be a cuirass. It's an old word. It means kind of like a breastplate, yeah? But it's interesting, cuirass, because it comes from cœur, the French for heart. So a cuirass is to protect the heart from whatever is coming. But this is going to make our heart stiff. Yeah, it's a stiff layer of protection. And we're not going to feel so much. So it's going to numb our feelings. You may remember when we were working on the fourth aspect of the Satnam, we explored how there was the numbing of the Naam. And ST could be like sentiments, yeah? And it's about feeling, yeah? It's a feeling. So if this is saint and suture, we were finding many words. This is another one with ST, isn't it? Stiff. So the karmic version, the karmic effect on our heart as we are protecting ourselves and closing our chest is that it becomes stiff and numb. And these very sounds, ST and M, should be reminding you of Satnam. Yeah. So the sound of Satnam in the karmic ways. It's not that when you chant Satnam, you become stiff and numb, right? You can either be chanting Satnam or you can be stiff and numb. This is what it is. It's like the opposite, right? So Nirbhao is telling us, wait, don't be afraid, right? Without fear. But a human without fear, absolutely no fear. Because we say that fearless is a quality of God, right? A human with no fear is almost inhuman. You know, a person who is not feeling afraid, it's like somebody, it's a little bit too cold, yeah? Like, you know, one of these, Alex Honnold, I think he's called, this guy who is doing free solo. He's climbing without ropes. And he's actually a very humble person from what I hear in the interviews, and very simple life and very kind, yeah? But in a way, he's like such a crazy attitude to be able to put himself in such a danger and not perceive any fear. I don't know if there is something in his amygdala or something, but to find somebody who's so utterly unafraid of danger, it's almost inhuman, yeah? So the thing is, fear exists, and we feel fear. The problem is when fear goes in front of us in such a way that it stops us from doing anything, and then it breaks, paralyzes us and stops our heart, yeah, and numbs our heart. We protect ourselves from it, so we are like tensing ourselves. But fear is something that you can approach it with courage and just go through anything, or you can also turn it around and put it behind you, and put the fear behind you. And utilize fear is like a wind. We were talking about the element of air. So rather than letting it take your wind away, put it behind you and propel you forward. For fear of falling into the victim, I'm going to be a warrior in the face of tyranny, in the face of bullying, in the face of unjustness or intolerance or whatever situation is. I'm going to be, a part of me is going to be afraid to fall into all that. So I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to let that fear be on my back to push me forward and fight for truth, fight for justice, fight for love. Isn't it like a much more, like a beautiful calling? Yeah, fight for love. Again, instead of fighting against fear, fight for love. And it doesn't mean that the fear is not there, but it's that you put it behind you. And this image of putting it behind me, it makes me. I was reflecting this during this week, how that reminds me of the image of the warrior. Yeah. So I'm gonna risk. Yeah, fear. Nirbhao is about risking. Yeah, I'm gonna risk trying to draw something more complicated. And here we have. I need to concentrate. The legs look a bit dodgy. But anyway. Hopefully I will do this much better in the thumbnail for YouTube. If you clicked on the video, then you probably saw a nicer image than this. So this is the archer pose, yeah? What is this telling us? Look, here is our heart. And we are gonna be, rather than having the fear in front, we put it in the back. Let's put it with green. It's kind of like pulling the bow back. Near, yeah? Near, getting contact with that, putting it in the back and create tension with that, and then release the arrow forward, yeah? Bow. And here we have forward, we have the bow. The bow has to bend. It has to be flexible, yeah? Bow, 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 yeah? It has to be flexible. It cannot be stiff, like the stiff heart, like the cuirass. Yeah, you can defend by putting a cuirass in front of you, or you can fight with a flexible bow. Yeah, that's what the Satnam can give you as well. Well, let's see it like this. Sat. If I mention that it can be stiff and numb, when you are putting layers of armor in front, by this approach you can find that the heart is strong and enamored, yeah? Love, enamorado, yeah? Enamorado, yeah? STNM, Satnam, yeah? And this would be the dharmic version of the word. And this would be the Nir, yeah? So say no, Nir, pulling the string down and then releasing the arrow. Bhao. So Nirbhao, yeah. Bong is almost like the releasing of the string is almost like that. Pow, 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 yeah. Nirbhao, and that's like the warrior attitude of facing the fear and just putting it behind you. Yeah, you see it in front of you, you put it behind, and let it fuel your action. Yeah, sacred actions, sacrifice. You're sacrificing your numbness, you're closing yourself to allow yourself to bring the warrior aspect forward. So, one of the reasons why we fear any unknown is because we don't have a direct relationship to the great unknown. The greatest unknown is God. So by creating a sacred connection, devoted connection to God, direct through prayer or other means, you become familiar with it, with this presence of the divine in your life. And as soon as the great unknown becomes present in your life, any little unknown that may create fear in you will dissipate and disappear. So, let the teachings be our arrows, yeah? What we throw forward, and arrows of love, Somebody is going through a difficult situation, a little arrow of love with some teaching in it. Use your word instead of the sword. This is, of course, we are not taking the warrior aspect literally necessarily, like we're not going to go with a sword or with a bow and arrow around killing people, but we are using our words as the way to fight for truth or fight for love or whatever has to be fought for. Unafraid in some ways, fearless. So with this, let me just mention Guru Hargobind would be the sixth Guru in the Sikh tradition, and I mention some stories from the Gurus every time or some little thing. And Guru Hargobind became Guru when he was 11. If you remember when I was talking about Guru Arjan, how he was burned and tortured for 5 days and nights. But before he went away to be tortured, because he knew he was going to die, he made it clear that Hargobind, his only son, would be the new Guru. And there are two stories here. One story says that 5 days before, he left the message for Hargobind, before leaving, for Hargobind to prepare a warrior tradition to start training people. Another story that I heard is that he left, but when Hargobind became Guru, after he found out that his father had been killed, he went into the room of the Guru and then he found two swords. And then as he saw the swords, he understood that now he had to fight. And so the two swords were Midi Pidi. They are called like this. One represents Midi is like Mid, is like the temporal, like matter, Midi, like the temporal reality, temporal power in life, in the earth, in the temporal realm. And Pidi is like Purusha, like Prakriti and Purusha. Purusha Pidi would be the spiritual power or spiritual authority, sometimes they call it, yeah? So Midi Pidi, yeah, like temporal, material power, and Pidi, the spiritual authority. So Guru Hargobind, as he became Guru, he trained, he was a martial artist. He was only 11, and he was imprisoned as well for a long time. But he eventually got out as well of prison, and he trained the armies, and they defeated the Mughal armies in a number of battles. And he created this military tradition that it would carry on throughout the next generations. There would be quite a few of the next gurus who would mainly concern their lives with fighting, because they were being invaded and they were assassinating all the Sikhs in the region. So they had to defend themselves, and so they fought for their lands, they fought for their peace, they fought for their people, they fought for their dignity, and so on and so forth. So it's not that they went out into invading the Mughal Empire, but they were defending themselves from this invasion. So that's the history of the sixth Guru, Guru Har Gobind. And within his family, they would follow the next Gurus as well, even up to Guru Tegh Bahadur, the ninth. I believe Guru Tegh Bahadur was one of his sons from one of his wives. So that's, ninth Guru, from the sixth to the ninth. They were actually all dying very young as well, and because of all these battles. But yeah, so that's the story. And with this concludes. I deeply enjoy doing these meditations every week on one little word of the Mul Mantra, instead of just chanting it quickly and going very slowly and just spend a whole week. Nirbhao, Nirbhao. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, in bed, Nirbhao, Nirbhao, what does it mean? What does it mean? And before going to sleep, I am Nirbhao, Nirbhao. I'm not all day like this, but it's in the back of my mind all the time. And it's a beautiful meditation, and I encourage you to start for next week with Nirver. What will it mean? What does Nirver mean? What can it be? Let's explore it in next week's video. Thank you very much for watching. And if it's not the first time you are in this channel and watching these videos, why not subscribe to it? It takes very little effort. You will not miss any video, and it helps the channel. So I hope this is of service to you, and that you find something valuable for yourself. Thank you very much. Sat Nam, until next time.